Hello folks and welcome to Tippcast with myself, Shane Stapleton. As always, Shane Brophy is here with me and delighted to say that former Tip hurler Eamon Corcoran also joins us. Shane, we'll start off with you. Are you excited for the weekend coming or are you terrified of the prospect of Limerick?
A bit of both. Look, you could look ahead both ways. They're Limerick. They're either going to be sort of, even though they won last weekend, sort of internally disappointed with their performance for 50 minutes of the game, or was the first 50 minutes indicative of something that maybe Tipperary could take advantage of and maybe be a bit more ruthless than Clare were. Look, it has its benefits. Like, Tip will be coming in fresh, but geez, I always think game match practice is a huge help as well. And like, I didn't think the Clare Limerick game, I didn't think it was hectic last weekend. I thought it was full of mistakes, like missed chances, like not what you would expect maybe for the back end of a championship match when maybe teams are really up to speed. But look, there's potential there to cause an upset, but it's a difficult task. But look, while our record against them recently is not good, we've always been there or thereabouts with them. So like, they've never how would you say, they've never put us to the sword really, baby, bar the Munster final in 2019. Like, you can say mention 2021, but we destroyed them in the first half, but they destroyed us in the second half. So like, you can look at it both ways. Like, so like, I think it's whether we have the mentality and the focus and the desire to go in and get that result next weekend. That's the thing for me.
Yeah, so Eamon, we'll come back to the matches that happened last weekend in a little bit, but it's a month now since Tipperary last played. That was against Clare League semi-final. Very disappointing, losing 124 to 213. So even looking at it, 25 scores to 15, it wasn't great anyway you slice it up. But can you remember from your days playing for Tipperary, where you had a terrible end to one championship, whether it was a Munster and then you have to wait for the back door, or league and you're waiting for the championship, where you got in and you turned it around a little bit, and what could Tip do between then and now?
Yeah, I can remember plenty of poor league performance and trying to turn it around, but I think the biggest challenge Liam has from the Clare game and from the league is a consistent 15. I think after we walked away from that Clare game, I don't think any of us could name one line as a team. And I think when you're going into championship, you want to nearly have probably 13 players nailed on that you think are going to be starting. And I think we all come out to Portlaoise going, actually, do we see Ronan at full back? Do we see him at centre back? Right down the middle, we didn't know actually who our centre forward was or full forward. So I think Liam had 3 weeks to go in training, and really probably just focus on position-wise and mentally. There was a lot of scars, I'd say, from the players as well from that performance, because I think we had some sort of momentum in the league. We played okay, and then we walked away against after the Clare game scratching our heads. I know they went away for a training camp. I'm hearing you're hearing things, you don't know how true they are, but they seem to be going quite well in training. There's a few lads starting to put their hands up that probably weren't thereabouts. I'm hearing Sean Hayes' name being mentioned around the place at the moment. But look, Liam and Mikey have been around a long time. They've been with Waterford, with the underage guys, with Tipperary. So I've no doubt, the one thing I can guarantee you we'll get on Sunday, there will be a huge willingness, desire, aggression levels. That's what we're going to get from Tipperary. Without a shadow of a doubt, we're going to get that. Are we good enough to turn them over? I don't know. I'd agree with Shane. I think the intensity, albeit it wasn't a brilliant game last week, but Limerick have a game under their belt, which is going to help. It's going to hit them. You can't beat matches going into a big day. There's no one talking about Tipperary. That's the advantage we have. A bit like Davey and Waterford, like we're under the radar there. I think we're going to really come out fighting. Are we good enough? I just don't know. I was disappointed with Limerick last week for, like anyone else, for 55 minutes. I was surprised at them. What they are brilliant at, they do the basics brilliantly. That's what Limerick do better than anyone else. And they didn't do that for 55 minutes. But then the last 10 minutes, which I was expecting the 10 minutes to start the second half for them to take off. That's their period when they go for you. And Clare, they showed us actually how to take on Limerick. Push up on them. Don't allow the short puck outs. Actually go for it. And like, you're going to, okay, your two guys are in the full back line are going to be challenged. You're going to be under serious pressure because of space, but you can't let them build from the back. And Clare, they lost concentration in 10 minutes to go. They let them build from the back. They let Keane Lynch go back into the full back line, half back line, pick up ball, and that's what they built. So I think Tip have seen something that you can go after Limerick with, but we're going to have to be brave. That's the one thing. People, you're just going to have to go for it. Sitting back, letting them come at you, I don't think it's the recipe. But I'm quietly confident, because I just think we're under the radar, and we've so much, we've very little to lose, because everyone is going to Limerick are going to take it. So I think Liam is inside in the dressing room or in the training camp at the moment going, you know what, we've nothing to lose, just go for this.
And do you feel, Eamon, that Limerick came back and won that game, or Clare, something between the ears, they concede that goal that they shouldn't have conceded, and then they dirtied the togs?
I think it's a bit of both. As people are going to disagree with me on this, I didn't think that bringing on Tony Kelly was the right move. Just personally, I thought the Clare crowd started to get going, the Limerick crowd started to get going. The Clare players mentally said, oh, here's Tony Kelly, he's our main man. I think they stopped the work rate. They nearly expected Tony's going to come on now, get on a few ball. Concentration levels went. Limerick upped their game. Kyle Hayes straight away won the first battle against Tony Kelly. The whole thing lifted. Like, there's no doubt in Tony Kelly. For me, he's one of the greatest hurlers I've seen. But I just felt when Clare were going okay, I would have held him. And then it's back to what you said there. I think concentration levels dropped, and the minute you dropped them against a team like Limerick, they just took off, and they showed. It was wow. But there was errors too. Like, there was like or hate, it was a square ball in that. There was an error for the first goal between the full back line and goalie. That shouldn't have happened. That can't happen at that level. So there was a few mistakes, and I do believe in the first half, and he was a loss. And I don't know much about the player, but Darragh Lohan was on Keane Lynch, and he tracked him everywhere. He went off injured. I know he was off at half time, but I think Keane Lynch then he went in centre forward and took over the game as well. So there was a bit of, I think, Clare losing concentration, and also Limerick just getting into the groove and going for it.
But like, it was just the manner of the goals, if Limerick had scored a couple of worldies, it probably wouldn't feel as bad as the nature of the ones that, like, you just did the first one, like, it was like, if that goes over the bar, I just think they just gave Limerick life. And then the second one, I suppose, look, it was probably one that it should have been saved, but it was Lisa O'Donnell said, whatever you do, you bounce it, but like, you got to be stopping that one. And look, there's no, and the third one, borderline square ball. Look, I'll give the umpires, like, that's a split thing. Like, unless you have video evidence, you can't really be sure. Like, and look, Limerick definitely got the breaks in the last 15-20 minutes. But look, it just shows you their mentality, like, that they never look like giving up. And yeah, it's like you were thinking there after 50 minutes, you're thinking, God, like, to Tip have a real chance now going into Limerick. These guys are going to be under pressure. Like, are they beginning to fade? And like, I suppose that before we focus on Tip, like, I think the interesting thing for me, maybe in terms of what team we get from Limerick this weekend, is that whether will Kiley give the likes of Flanagan and Tom Morrissey and the lads who are taking off one more shot, or will he decide, no, Conor Boyle and Adam English, the boys that came on and helped turn the game, you deserve the chance now. And like, you can imagine, like, that either or are going to be a difficult task. Even if you ask Tom Morrissey to come off the bench in the second half, you can imagine how fired up he'll be. Like, so, like, it actually, John Kiley's in a great position, I'd say, in terms of picking a team this week.
And Shane, to be fair, you did call Waterford from a long way out to beat Cork, but geez, the black card went in their favour. Shouldn't have been a penalty either. Both of those shouldn't have happened. And then the red was unbelievably harsh. So even though Cork weren't great, they were fairly wronged.
Maybe, but Waterford were like a good team, were the better team by a nice bit now. Like, I thought.
Well, decisions allowed Limerick to get over the line, to be fair. It helped them. 2 square balls.
It did, yeah.
They cost Cork.
Yeah, look, I don't think there's been much sympathy for Derek Cahalane. You can't, or Damien Cahalane, you can't make that challenge on a yellow card. You're just asking for trouble. Okay, yes, the penalty, like, there was a cover player, and I know the ball had been dispossessed. Like, I suppose when Michael Kennedy saw the flick going in, he the ball hadn't moved at that stage. So look, yeah, there's no doubt that the penalty was a big decision. But look, I thought overall, look, Waterford brought the greater desire, the hunger, the smarts, going Cork last by 2 points, got some of the wides they hit in the first half were scandalous. Like, just the same old failings. And I just think that's why I fancied Waterford last week. I just said Cork were being hyped up for very little. And they haven't. Okay, they have brought through some of the younger ones, the Sean Toomeys and the Christopher Joyces and a few more, but not enough. Not enough yet to say that it's a new team. Like, there's still a core of very talented players that, when push comes to shove, haven't gotten over the line in big games the last few years.
Yeah. What do you think, Eamon, when you look at that? Well, the Cork-Waterford game. Any thoughts on either team?
Yeah, I'm with Shane there. I was probably waiting to could see Waterford coming through. I think Davey had everything in his favour going into that. Everyone was knocking him, and that's when Davey's at his very, very best. And I give him his due. We all said he's a certain style, and that's all he can play. He changed it up completely. Like the long ball, I heard they were going. That's the direction they were going. But in fairness, they're big ball winners. Like, he took chances there. Desi on the freeze. There's a few at the start. I was like, Jesus, he's making chances here or taking chances here. But then go back to the Cork fails again. Colin Lahan had 3 or 4 chances there in the first half, and they were very, very poor wise. There was big calls, but I think on the day, definitely Waterford, everything you'd want in their home patch. The crowd got behind them. Davey was animating the sideline, but I give Davey his due. He changed tactics and he got it right. But again, for Cork, the flatter to deceive. I just don't know at times. Every year Cork will thereabouts. And Pat Ryan, I have great time for Pat Ryan because I saw him with underage teams, and I think he's the right guy there. But Damien Cahalane, like, we've seen a lot of Damien Cahalane making them errors. You can argue for or against these things like that, but Shane, you're right. When you're on a yellow card, making a challenge like that, you can't do it. So there was a few decisions went against them, but I think Waterford were full value for the win.
I think we got a signal to Waterford's how they were going to set up when the team was announced that Paddy Levy wasn't starting. Was it? Like, as good as Paddy Levy is in terms of minding the ball, he slows the match down. Like, because when Paddy is not going to hit the ball indirect, he's going to give it to somebody else, and that's an extra pass. It's an extra maybe a second for the opposition team to get their defence set. So, and plus, look, Waterford were able to field their strongest team of the year. Callum Lyons was back. I'm a huge fan of his. He's just all action. Tyg de Borca is, I think, pound for pound, he's the best centre back in the game. Great. Like, when he's at his best, he just does everything right. Jamie Barron is back to his best. Look, they're in a lovely spot now. They have the best draw this year in Munster, because I think they have a break in the first 3 games. They have a week or two's break between their first 3 games. They actually have Tips scheduled from last year, and the only time they play back to back is the last weekend. So, look, I think they'll fancy their chances of beating Tip and on Saturday week. And, like, okay, they have to finish against Clare and Limerick away, but look, 4 points might be enough. Like, so, but look, hopefully we'll have something to say about that on Saturday week.
Yeah, Eamon, like you mentioned, Conor Lahan there and the wides they had. Like, starting all of your veteran players in a forward line, they started Lahan, Harnedy and Horgan, all excellent players over the years. And I'm not taking a pop at them, but between them, they had 10 shots from open play in the first half and scored 1 point. And you look at Shane Barrett, the impact he had, same with Alan Connolly. They needed to be getting the ball. The younger lads needed to be carrying it. And we probably saw this with Tip before and like you've managed teams as well. Like, you need energy and you need lads being able to run the ball these days as well. And if you have a lot of, 3 or 4 lads just popping shots from everywhere, like, I would often say, like, why are Cork producing the same stuff? Well, they keep picking the same team, and a lot of those players, the Coleman, Darragh Fitzgibbon, they're there since 2017 as well. Now, they're all brilliant players in their peak, but the reason Cork are the same is because they keep picking the same team.
Sorry, I don't disagree. I think there's probably in management, you're looking at experience, the big day, and you're going down to Walsh Park. I think that probably was in the back of Pat Ryan's head. Like, these are experienced players, but their game management, their shot selection, it didn't show experience. It didn't show like these are guys that should know an awful lot better, like getting lads in, putting lads in the best, whoever's in the best position to put it over the bar. But I think Pat Ryan, you're right. I don't disagree. I think the players that come on, they brought that energy, and they look different. But there is, and in management, you tend to actually look, you know, what these guys have done it before. They've done it on the big day. But the players we're talking about, they're I think Cork are just going to have to go back and bring in some of the younger lads. I've no doubt. Like you look back at the 20s, the minors team over the years. Pat Ryan was involved in these guys. But then you look at training too. Like I often, we come on and we talk about things. You just don't know what's going on behind closed doors in training. These guys could have been really performing in training and just the wrong. If they had to go over the bar, we'd be saying, "Wow, what a performance," but wrong decision making. So it's easy to be critical of the guys afterwards. I definitely think Pat Ryan the next day he will go back to the drawing board and start to go, you know what, I need to freshen this up, because it just looked, even when the team came out and I looked at it, I said, geez, that Cork team seems to be around for a long time. I don't know, and that's probably why I was leaning towards Waterford at the back of that.
Yeah, and Eamon, it's been a while since Tipperary had a big win against Limerick in a match that no one's really going to count the dead rubber game in 2019. So is it 2016, Shane, since the last big victory, the time Bubbles got sent off after about 13 minutes?
Yeah.
And Tip won anyway. And really boxed again against Limerick that day. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt about it. Look, they've had the Indian sign-overs, but like I do think we've got to be. The results haven't been good, but like even look, and a lot of the games, even though they've been tight, you'd always say, look, we didn't do enough to quite win them, but we've always been there or thereabouts. We've always posed them problems, even in 2022 when we had a very poor year. Like after 60 minutes that day, we were going very well, and I suppose we got a taste of what Clare got last week. Limerick got a couple of goals and pulled away to win by 8. So look, I just think we have the game to trouble them. It's having the game to go the distance. And as Eamon said, like I suppose the thing is we just don't really know what our best team is. And like I'm of the view that maybe Liam Cahill, it was, I wouldn't say by design, but just I was trying to read what did we get from the league? 38 guys got game time. There was no real trend apart from maybe Ronan Maher at full back. What we learned, like Rhys Shelley got 3 games, Barry Hogan got 3 games. It was a kind of I don't know. I think I get the vibe that maybe Cahill was thinking the break between league and championship is when the battle is going to start for places. Like I'll give everyone a shot, and then we'll get to the training field, and that's when it's going to come out. And it was like I'm of the belief that the day against Antrim, that was the day Tips championship started. The Clare match was there, but whether they win or lost, won or lost it. I just thought the manner of the performance that day, it was sloppy. We didn't look fit, didn't look sharp. We missed 20 wides. Something telling me our focus wasn't right, and you can see it in the way we hurled. We weren't there, like so. I think I mentioned in my preview piece today that if in the paper that if it was a horse racing parlance, you'd be pulling Tip up before the stewards, like, because you can't be missing 9 frees, you can't be looking as sluggish as you were. And I do think maybe I did hear, I think the Sunday after the Clare game, there was a training match in Morris Park, and I believe it was ferocious. Like, and that's a Cahill thing, that he's really testing the boys now out. And as Eamon said earlier, there's a few names popping up that maybe did okay in the league, but you wouldn't have said we're coming to the fore for championship. But look, you never know. Like, and I do think there's kind of if you go back to 2018, like I still think you can learn something from years past with Cahill, is that the Munster final, Under-21 final, they got a trimming off Cork, and they went back to brass tacks then after that. Like he brought in Owen Connolly, brought in Robert Byrne. He's not scared to change things in season if he feels they're not working, or if he feels that, okay, lads, we need to put a bit more dog into training and stuff. And look, I'm fascinated to see how we're going to set up at the weekend in terms of players. First of all, I think we're going to play front foot Tipperary hurling. I think that's the best way for us to win the game. We can't concede the puck out. We can't play a sweeper. If you give a Limerick a +1, forget about it, because they'll just create overlaps. I think we've got to be brave. I think we've got to play on the front foot. But then it's all about who's in the key positions, who's at 6, who's with Willie Connors at 9, who is with who like I would have said Ford, Morrison, O'Connor are nailed on 3 forwards. Who are the other 3? Like, so look, I'm fascinated to see for what we can read from the Tip team on Friday night.
Yeah, Eamon, you were nodding your head there when he was talking about, front foot, Tipperary hurling and so on. What does that mean to you? Like, what does that look like on the pitch?
It's a bit ironic because when I was over the Brackens, we did nothing but play a sweeper system. So when I talk about, but I'm a believer in setting up, like, and the team you're playing. And like, for me, it's Shane said that we can't concede puckouts. Like, that's what they bring. Limerick bring 4 back into the full back line. They'll work it through the lines, bring back Keane Lynch. I just think Clare showed us, actually, albeit there's going to be massive space at the far end of the field, and I get that. And maybe Mikey and Craig are in the full back line, and Rowan is coming out. So it's we have to be so brave to play this, and people will criticise. Oh, look at all the space, and they're going back to Clare in the last 10 minutes. Look at this space they left, but Clare didn't put enough pressure on the Limerick backs to stop it coming out. There can't be a breach. I talk about a breach the whole time. If someone breaks the tackle, there's an overlap and they're off. We have to hit them at source. So when the puck out comes, if it comes short, we're absolutely so. That forward line needs to be full of 6 guys that are willing to absolutely bust themselves, and the midfield for that 70 minutes, because if we've any guy looking for that loose ball to be thrown out and not willing to put in the tackle, that creates the overlap. So that's when I think we're talking about that front foot going for it. But that it will just Liam will look in there and go, you know what, have I the players that are actually willing to work hard and do that? And if we don't, we're in trouble. But I still go back to the match against Clare, and Shane is right there. Like, when you looked in and go, Jesus, we didn't turn up. But I still think all them guys, like, they were fighting for a position in the first round of the championship. So when you put on the jersey and you're in the dressing room, you're going out and there's a Tip supporters coming to watch you. Like, you have to be so proud to put on that jersey. So I think whatever happened, normally you expect 3 or 4 not to perform, but geez, we had 15, 16, the lads that come on didn't perform. We think with 3 or 4 free take. It was just the maddest thing I've seen. But I think Liam, in one way, he has a stick now going back into training, and that's Liam. Liam is the type of manager, and look, Liam's raw, like he is. Liam doesn't hold back. If he's to make a hard call, he'll make a hard call. So I wouldn't be surprised. There might be 1 or 2 surprises on Sunday that 1 or 2 guys put their hand up in training and they're actually showing their aggression levels. And Liam's going, you know what, I'm going to give you the chance. You put your hand up and go for it. I think you said, Shane, there's 38 players in the league. I don't think any player really came out of the league that we went, wow. Like, Gerrard kind of had 1 or 2 games, then he slipped a few games that he just didn't get up to the level. But there was no player that I went, actually, we're after unearthing this new player. 1 or 2 players that went all right, then they came back. So that's why I am nervous going into Sunday, and I hope things have gone well in training, is I cannot pick any one line that I'd say and guarantee that. And I'm a massive believer in knowing who your number 1 is in goal. And I still don't know coming into Sunday, is it Rhys Shelley or is it Hogan? I don't know.
Just I know maybe I don't know if Shane could pull up, but maybe we'll try and piss or half predict a Tip team. Like, I think they'll probably go with Rhys, just maybe based on last year. I thought his puck outs against Limerick were excellent. I think you've got to be brave in distributing the puck out against Limerick. So look, I like a Barry Hogan, I don't think did an awful lot wrong in the league. I just think when it comes to Limerick, I think you have to be brave in your puck outs. And Shelley probably relishes the big occasion, so I think he'll probably start. I think full back line will probably be Breen, Ronan Maher, and Craig Morgan. I believe Barrett.
This was the latest we'd done, Shane. This was a good while ago now.
Yeah. I believe Cahill had a small bit of a setback in a challenge match against Laois recently. So, and look, we saw last year when Cahill is not 100% how Galway exploited that. So, like, the interesting one for me is 6. Has Robert Byrne done enough in the eyes of the management to be your 6? Will they go back with maybe Brian O'Mara at 6, or maybe put Owen Connolly at 5? Could they put Dan McCormick at 6, and he'd be a very, very safe pair of hands who knows how to play that sort of defensive holding role? He'd give the full back line plenty of cover. I don't know what Eamon thinks in terms of what we were going to line up back there.
Yeah, just in the half back line there. In my head, I think he might go with Robert Byrne. at 6 to hold the middle. I don't know. I like a 6 that's hitting ball. I think Robert holds the middle, but does he give us enough there? The big one is Dan. Like Dan, he played wing forward, and sometimes in Kyle Hayes to stop that running game and push up on him. But then we've Garrod Hegarty. Like he's like Dan stops a hurler as well. He's very good at it. He can go forward, he can go back, but he can stop the likes of Garrod Hegarty. Does Conor Bowe go in there? Like Conor started off the league great, I think, wing back, and then I was surprised to push them out midfield against Clare. I liked him actually wing back. He was attacking, but have we seen enough when he's putting the back foot? Can he get back? Because you have to be able to.
And another one who's had a good run with Garrod Hegarty in the past has been Barry Heffernan. If he's going,
sorry, you're right. Yeah, Barry's done well there. Yeah, exactly. So that Barry's a player who I suppose we haven't even been talking about. A number of people have been named the team this week, and I said, Jesus, where's Barry Heffernan and all of this? But I think, like for me, it more than likely it could be O'Mara, Byrne, and Conor Bowe. I'm probably for, because I'm worried about her half forward as regards height, because like Garrod O'Connor has height, but then you might have Conor Stakelum and Alan Tynan, who are they're two workers. But if it's a direct game, do you put Dan up on Kyle Hayes and push on that? So probably if I was going with it, I think they may go with Byrne. I'd like O'Mara centre back. I like Brian O'Mara. I'll be honest with you. I think I like him all in the middle. I think he's a great striker of the ball. But if he is 6 and Kyle or Cian Lynch is 11, whoever's there, you're coming out of the middle and you're tracking the whole way up the field. So there is going to be more than likely a gap there, unless Ronan steps out, trying to cover that middle. But I'm nearly for pushing. I don't know. I'm worried about someone sitting on their own against Limerick, sitting in front of it, because they'll spray the ball left and right. So I think Ronan will be pushing as well. But I think they'll probably go with Byrne. For me, I'd like to see O'Mara at 6.
Yeah, so like we're talking about, maybe pushing up on the puck out and forcing them to go along. And then, like, you would ideally like your half-backs to hold the line to some degree, Eamon. But if you do that, then, of course, Limerick are so clever at getting into space. And then, like, if you play Ronan out there, like, one of his, like, he's got a lot of qualities, but maybe flat line running maybe isn't one of them, especially if someone like Cian Lynch is playing centre forward. And then I suppose, like, the one thing he is brilliant at is high ball. And it was pandemonium when Clare put high ball down on top for a half back line for puckouts the last day. And this is partly, there's like 40 or 50, you'll face 40 puckouts in a game, Eamon. Yeah. So even just that alone makes me quite fearful going into this weekend.
I know, and you've always said half back line, hold the line. But in fact, we've used the word brave a good few times here. We have to do something different, something that we've never done before against this Limerick team. And for me, it's pressing, which is going to be like a traditional halfback. And you'd love to play 5, 6, and 7, and someone's 6 sitting in the pocket, the sweep, and the crossing back. I think those days are gone. That's gone. You have to, like, you can't a 6 now, or else a man marker has to follow a Kyle Hayes. But you see, to put someone like Ronan sitting there in front of the two guys to protect, Limerick are too good. They'll put that ball into the pocket of space. For me, the only way we're going to do it is we have to stop at a source. So we have to press the whole time so they can't get that overlap or that breach. But we have to be strong in the air there, because Limerick are like, and you're right, Ronan's main strength, he's unbelievable. Like that's where he is in the air and coming out. So Ronan, but I think Ronan will have a man marking job to do. I don't see the luxury of anyone sitting there sweeping. I think Ronan will have to step up and go toe to toe and take someone, whoever they're going to put him on. I don't know.
I got to throw a scenario here, and I know Shane is not a fan of Ronan taking long range shots, but here's a scenario: 50 minutes, and Limerick do this every time. And they did it again last week. I actually couldn't believe it. That they always retreat around 50 minutes. If they're winning even by a point or two, or we saw last week, they're losing by 9 and they still retreated. Do Tipperary try and know, okay, around 50, these boys are going to sit back? Do we get our 3 best long-range shooters into the half-back line? Well, I thought that was the mistake Clare made. They actually cut out an awful lot of Limerick ball in the middle of the second half, but they were just driving it back into where their forwards were crowded out, instead of maybe going laterally. Like Diarmuid Ryan had probably had his most quietest game, and he's Clare's best long-range shooter. He
shoots wide after wide after wide. The odd day they go over.
For 2 or 3 matches. He's always good for 2 or 3 points a game.
He is not. He is not. I'm telling you, last year he killed his own team against Limerick twice last year.
But you
I'm
have
telling
to.
you.
But Shane, you have to draw them out.
But how about instead of playing long ball on top of two subs, Tony Kelly and Shane Meehan, who are not big players, you bring in Aaron Shanahan a little bit earlier, and you actually play to the strengths that you have on the field. How about that? How about not constantly making the referee bring up the free 10 yards because you were jawing or you pulled someone down to the ground, and maybe someone putting a hurley up when a free goes 60 yards in? How about using your head?
No, but Limerick will have that area crowded though. My point is, at 50 minutes, do you
let them work the puck out from the back then?
No,
keep hitting it wide and let them have puck outs. How's that going to work?
But what if you put 10 shots and you put 7 of them over the bar, and Limerick decide, okay, we can't let them shoot, can't let them hit
100 yards
80, 90 yards long range points.
Shooting from 100 yards isn't sustainable.
It's not if Limerick decide we have to push up.
Oh, Shane, I couldn't disagree anymore. Because we're terrified of the puck out here.
You know Limerick are going to do it around 50 minutes. They're going to retreat back to field. So where's your best chance of success of scoring? Is it going to be inside where the forwards have less room, or is it going to be further out where potentially you could be able to create an overlap? Because forwards are gone so deep that tips two wing backs hold their position. We know Conor Bowe is very good long range. Do you bring Ronan Maher out? And I'm just saying a hypothetical scenario. That's all.
Yeah, not for me.
Is that something new that Tip could bring to it on Sunday? Work
it up the flanks, whatever you want to do. But like the idea of shooting from 100 yards and thinking that this is some sort of sustainable thing, not for me. Eamon, do you have any thoughts on it?
I'm actually listening to both sides of the argument here, and I think I hear where Shane is going as regards when they retreat. If there's balls within range.
Within range.
If you nail and I actually, when you were talking there, I said, who are the long range strikers? I don't have Noah McGrander field here, but Jesus, if we had,
but he could be coming on around.
I think there's a Conor Bowe, Ronan. Yeah, when he nails him, and we've seen a few times when they go wide, it can lift the whole. If you can get 3 or 4 of them over, you will ring them back out and you'll try and create the space back inside there. It's gamble. It is, but as I said, it's a gamble. And the other side, then there's nothing worse than you drive balls from 100 yards wide. All of a sudden, then you're giving them the puck out again. They have a set play and they're off again. If it happens in the game. If Tony Kelly came back out and sat in the pocket, he was a shooter. They may have picked him up, though. I don't think they'd allow a player like that to sit out in the pocket. But I have seen teams in the past, when the crowd, the far defence, going for it. The problem there is if they go wide, by God, it deflates the whole thing. So it's like I'm sitting on the fence of both arguments. If they do it next week and Ronan Maher drives 4 over the bar, I'll be coming on next week to see the argument. But it is. Conor Bowe is a shooter as well. I'd like to see Conor Bowe on the field, actually. I'd like to see Conor Bowe on the field next on Sunday. I think he brings that pace, that energy. There's something about him. He can play in the half forward line, he can play in the half back line. Will he be brave enough to play in 5 on 7? Would he be 7 on Garrod Hegarty? That's the question.
Well, it always adds to it when we're pressing up on each other's conversations. We're not sitting off the puck outs here this morning, Shane. But like, if you go back to the league game, where Tipperary were 1-7 to 5 up early on, but then the rest of the half fell out of it, I suppose. And then, the second day out, started the second half quite well, and then we're playing catch up and got a couple of goals late on to maybe stay in it. It does feel like the same trend game after game that we run out of juice.
Oh yeah, look, we know what that's been the case. Even last year, while the game ended in a draw, like Limerick probably hit an awful lot of wides maybe in the last 15 minutes. You probably think that they probably left the game behind them a small bit. But I just think, I do think Cahill will send the team out to be brave. I think the best way, very few teams have found beating Limerick. Very few teams have beaten Limerick, but I think what Clare have shown is that you have to go man on man. Look, if they beat you man on man, fine, but you say you can't give them the extra player in the back because they'll create the little triangles, and as they did last week, they just to get out. And once they get out in space and their inside forwards have oceans of room to play into, I just think I think we have got to be brave. We've got to take our chances. Like I thought Dan Morrissey was in a small bit of trouble the last day. probably Mike Casey's out, but Sean Finn is in. Sean didn't look 100%. He's probably still working his way back. But look, I think fascinating thing for me, will they leave Jake close to goal? But then Jake was very threatening against Limerick in the last 15 minutes of the league game, coming from deep, from wing forward. Like, so who do you play inside? Do you hold, like, I'd be thinking this is a game made for Bonner Maher more than Waterford. Do you say to Bonner, this is your game to start? Or do you hold him and bring him in for 20 like you did in Parky Keeve in the league matches? Like, then
Not
Mark
based on the Clare game.
Huh?
Not based on the Clare game.
But no, the Clare game is a write-off for everybody. I wouldn't hang him for that. Like, so.
No, but I'm not just hanging, him,
Yeah.
but like you're specifically talking about him, and I would say based on that game, it's more bring him in.
Yeah, but then he was very, very good against Limerick last year. Like, he's the one player in the forward line will physically go toe to toe with these Limerick guys. He'll relish the confrontation, like he'll relish the battle. Like, so I would think if this is a game probably more suitable to his skill set than maybe playing him against Waterford. Like, and like you're looking in terms of they're going to have to freshen it up for Waterford 6 days later. So do you say, do you pick certain players like Bonner to say that Bonner's more suited to this game, that we'll see more of him here? I do think I wouldn't be surprised if we see Darren McCarthy on the 26th this week, just because the Under-20s are not hurling this week. So he doesn't fall in that 60-day category. Maybe the next week against Waterford, where he mightn't be involved. He'd be probably playing under-20. That he could be one. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him on the 26th this week. He mightn't feature, but you never know.
Yeah. What do you think then, Eamon? Can Tip get over the line? Who do you expect to see? Like, is there any bolters you expect to see? What are you expecting here? And are we just hoping for Limerick to leave it behind them if we want to get through? I mean, if Limerick hit top gear, we're not going to win.
Yeah, I look, it's like, I think when you go in against teams like Limerick, and the favourites, if they play to the potential and we play to the potential, to be honest, Limerick will win the game. That's like, they are on paper, like, experience, everything, like, they are a step ahead of everyone at the moment. And also, to give them their due, their game management, and able to make Connacht, I give them like, they can see changes throughout the game, which very few people. So I think what's going to happen on the sideline as well, there's a huge job for the Tip management as well, just to be able to tweak throughout the game. There is going to be scenarios where you're going to have to make the right decisions, and small things that are going to change. You can see the small few changes Limerick made. The game management, we have to be, whoever's in the stand or on the line, they need ice in the head there when it comes to this. It's going to be on the line. There's going to be a huge battle as well to make the right decisions.
Do you just say him? Do you hold? Do you start an all, or do you hold him for 50 minutes? Get him in at 50 when the game is going to.
Yeah, I'd be holding Noel when the game opens. Like when you say the game opens up, Limerick finished the last time, I'd hold Noel. I think the energy levels, we're going to be bringing in 5 subs here. We're not going to finish the game. We are going to be flattened. The guys out in the field, if they're finishing, they've held something back. They have to be, especially the forwards, they have to be absolutely. And like, you have no, like, I just don't know enough, like, who in training, and this is the bit that we don't know, who in training at the moment. Like, we hear Sean Hayes, I've heard Andy Ormond's going okay in there. Andy, like, will he give you something different there? Just talks. Billy Seymour is meant to be going okay in training. You're hearing all these things. I don't know. So it's, I do think that, look, albeit, I think if we can put up a serious performance against Limerick, I think that's where we'll be. Do I see us getting over the line and just solely going on the back the last 10 minutes, the way Limerick finished against Clare? I think they've actually serious momentum. We're going in probably the one championship I've gone into over the last number of years that I'm so uncertain that I can't name a team. So when you're saying, are you confident they're going to win? I'm not, because I'm just not certain on what the team is. The one thing I am certain is a Liam Cahill managed team is going to come out all guns blazing. Where that'll get us, hopefully it'll get us over the line.
And then Cork, Clare, Shane, we'll just quickly go through this one.
Oh God, I don't know. Something tells me home advantage will swing at Cork's way. I just don't know. There's even though Clare have good form in terms of responding from losing first round games in the round robin so far. Like, even remember last year, Like, they didn't hurl all that bad last weekend, just didn't finish. Who's the more desperate team? That's the look. Maybe home advantage and 30,000 screaming rebels maybe might be the difference. One thing I'm hoping for is there is a winner. I think a draw might. It just keeps both of them alive. I don't know. Do we want? Would you prefer maybe one of them to be knocked, maybe sort of hanging over the trapdoor by the time Tip play them? So maybe if there's a winner, maybe Cork. Just that makes no sense. Thinking Clare are a better team, but they've always been tight games over the last couple of years between the two, and Clare have always tended to win them narrowly. Maybe this could be Cork's turn to go the other way.
What do you think in terms of changes as well, Eamon? So, like, Tony Kelly could come in, but based on his cameo last week, you wouldn't be 100% sure he's right, or maybe that will have brought him on just having that under his belt. Cork,
I think a fit Tony Kelly will start. I think we saw enough the last day. I think Brian Lohan, of course his body language was bad, and of course after his interview after the game he was going to be down, but I think he mentally needs to get himself right. Like, he had probably a downtime Sunday night to reflect, but he's a big job now of lifting these players. Like, they threw everything at a Limerick team and they came up short. But go back to last year, they had a poor outing against Tip and they got that bounce back the next day. Cork will have to bounce back too. We spoke about Cork. I think Cork will have a number of changes. Go back to the conversation we had earlier, I think in the forward line in particular. But home advantage, Cork down there, I think they'll run it clear. It'll be who's the best to bounce back from the last day. And I worry for Clare mentally. I think there'll be a lot of scars with that last 10 minutes. And I think Brian Lohan has a big job in his hands to lift himself as well as the team.
Yeah, see, I think that's the thing. Clare have it between the ears now. That's a bit of an issue there for everybody on the panel. Whereas with Cork, if they make a lot of changes and they can rely, lean on the fact that, okay, it was a harsh black card, it was a harsh penalty, all that kind of stuff, if they want to. And we never hurled, yet we still only lost by a goal. Like, when we went down to 14 and 13 men, we didn't capitulate. I think that's important. And also, Pat Ryan knows, Eamon, that if he loses this game, he's probably gone, because that would be 2 years in a row not qualifying from the round robin. So psychologically, I actually think he and Cork could be in a better place.
I'd agree. I 100% agree there. I think Pat Ryan, I think they're coming away losing a game where they didn't play well at all, where I think Clare are coming away from a game where they threw absolutely everything at them. And then I think there's a lot of scars there. There's the head doctors down in Clare will have some job. I don't think they'll be on the hurling field this year. I actually think they'll all be sitting down, getting the head right for the weekend. And I think that's why I would be leaning towards Cork. I think Cork, and Pat Ryan, you're right, Pat Ryan, his second year there. I think he's coming away after the last day. But I think Cork have the changes to make to win the game. That's why I'd be potentially going with Cork.
And maybe before we let you go, Eamon, I might just ask you about the Tip under-20s and minors. And I'm not entirely sure how much you would have seen, but the under-20s anyway, 2 wins from 2, beat Waterford well the other night after, a very comprehensive win over Limerick before that, both away from home.
Yeah, and I'm delighted for Brendan and the backroom team as well, because I think the guys the last number of years, they've tried different style of play. They tried different things and it didn't work out, and people have been critical. Paddy's come in with them this year, and I think they've got it right. Two good results. You mentioned Darren McCarthy earlier on. I hate going on about one player, but I think he is. We have an X factor coming through. I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the panel for Sunday. So I think overall, Brendan and the guys have got it right. I like the way they're playing. I think they have a good balance at the moment, and to have 2 wins going in with probably not seen much in challenge games. I think just if you hear results, they probably weren't going the way. So whatever, he's got the timing right, and two great results. And come here, Tipperary needed it. I think with the minors, with James, we've needed this, and the Camogie. I think it just feels a bit this year, last number of years, it feels flat. And I see the way the minors are going at the moment to get the wins, the way that the 20s are going the way they're going at the moment. I think it's the lift we needed. So fair play to James and Brendan. They've got us off to a good start.
Yeah, just before you go on, we have Joe coming on to talk about the minor Camogie final, but you were in with the Tip seniors. You had a great year. You'll probably be in a bit early on Sunday. Maybe I know Limerick are playing Waterford in the Camogie Munster quarter final, and you're playing the winners the following week. So, but also on Saturday, you have the minor Camogie team in the All Ireland. We've already won the league. The juniors got to a league final. There's in fairness, it's been a great year for Tip Camogie so far.
It has, and the 16s last weekend, the Bs and the As and the rag, both in one as well. John is doing a great job with the minors. And look, I think it gave the whole county a huge boost there 2 Sundays ago in Croke Park for the girls to go up and perform as underdogs. And like I was looking at the bet, it was a 2-1 there going into a final against Galway, and to come out and to beat them. It's just, I think, Camogie needed that the last number of years. I mean, thereabouts last year, very disappointing against Waterford after winning the Munster, but there's good momentum there. But right across the board, I think I often use the phrase "misery loves company," and people like to be doom and gloom around the place, and this is wrong, that's wrong. But we're just have to mention the Camogie, we have to mention the minors, the 20s. If the seniors if we can get a performance from the seniors Sunday, I think you'll just get Tipperary back going again. And the big thing we want everyone putting back on the jerseys, going to the matches. I think we've probably taken the easy option, a lot of us, the last number of years, sitting back, but I think we just need to go back supporting the teams, and I would hope Sunday now we get a big turnout and we just go and really get behind Liam and the team on Sunday.
Like the way I'm kind of hoping this is the way. So like if Tip get a result in one of the next 2 games, and maybe just say hype if Cork beat Clare. Can you imagine a heaving Thurles on the 19th of May in Tip beat Cork, and that maybe that would be special. Like you'd hate maybe if Tip lost 2 games and maybe we're sort of half supporters like Ash or Tip are half knocked out, who won't bother going. Could you imagine that day Tip and Cork and the place absolutely rammed, and what it would just be? We haven't had that in a long time between the two of us.
No, I think that's what we're looking for. And in fairness, Tip will support. They just want something to go after. And I think if we go back to, and don't get me wrong, I hate to go back to the old style 100 tries and that, but if we go back and if we take on Limerick and just drive at them and give that just the aggression level, and to come off the field and say, you know what, we'd follow this team. This team has something between the teeth. When they put on that jersey, they're a proud bunch. Every team that Liam puts out will give that. So I've no doubt, but I'd love if we just got a bit of momentum behind us and then go into some of these matches and we just pack Thurles. Then we're back.
Okay, well, look, Eamon, you've been brilliant with your time and helped us tee it up very nicely for the weekend. Thanks very much.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Okay, brilliant to have him on. I suppose we didn't talk too much about the under-20s just yet. It was like, it is very encouraging to see, and obviously Paddy McCormick was starting the first day out. He was suspended for the second day out. So to win when you have to make a change, one of your main kind of targets on the inside line, that in itself is quite encouraging. Yeah,
and probably a small bit of how would you say, a small bit of difficulty too. I thought the first 12 minutes, 40, they were very, very good. Tip, they were very, very slick, and then there was the stoppage for Jack Quinlan's injury, and it just gave Waterford a chance to regroup. And I think Tip might have only scored 1 point from there up to half time. They really lost their way, but like, in fairness to the management, they got him in at half time. They regrouped and completely dominated the second half, and probably a small bit wasteful too. Like they could have won by a bit more, but like it's like, I know Waterford were short Patrick Fitzgerald, so they weren't at their full strength. But to go down there and win 2 wins out of 2, I think they have a foot and a half in the next round. Like, if you think they have the head-to-head now over Limerick or Waterford, and Limerick and Waterford have to play each other yet. So even if one of those gets to 4 points and Tip don't win their last 2 games, you probably think Tip are still in good shape to make the top 3. But I would have thought that at this stage, Tip with 2 home games, starting with Cork on Friday week, that if one more win should probably get them into a Munster final. And look, I'm sure there'll be relish in a home game. Cork are probably the touted favourites for the competition. Like, it'll be a real step up that night, and I'm sure but they'll relish it too. Paddy McCormick will be back from suspension as well, and I suppose a lot of guys there's different guys that came off the bench last weekend too. So I think it's about 22, 23 guys have gotten game time so far, which has been very encouraging.
Okay, delighted to say now we're joined by Joe Scully. It's we're talking all things Tipperary, Joe. It's exciting all week ahead.
Yeah, it is all right, for fans of Tipperary anyway,
Yeah. Go ahead,
I suppose just to focus on the minor Camogie, Joe, I suppose it's a big week for the girls on Ireland's semi-final on Saturday. It's just a pity, I think, that the Camogie Association schedule and the semi-final and final 1 week after another. It's a pity there's not 2 weeks, maybe, just to give it a small bit more of a build-up. Like, it's a quick turnaround. Like, I would have thought the May Bank holiday weekend would have been actually ideal for a game like this. You could just add a bit, even for us in the newspaper this week, it's very hard to turn it around in terms of give it and add a bit of a push. But particularly after last weekend, and I'm sure Tip wouldn't have minded another week, considering they had to go to extra time in the searing heat of Route Downey to beat Kilkenny.
Yeah, it seems a bit much, all right. It's going to be hard as well, like, for them to turn it around, like, in a week. Like, maybe an extra week would have been grand, like, and as you said, it would have given in the newspaper a bit more time, maybe to give it a bit proper build-up, and it would have proper build-up. But look, that's the way to have it, I suppose, and nothing you can do about it now, I suppose, at this stage.
Yeah.
Joe, what was the game like against Kilkenny? So finished 115 to 112 after extra time. Tip through to a first final since 2016. So can you talk us back over the match?
Yeah, look, it was actually a very good game, like, very high quality. Like, I suppose it started off a bit slow. Like, the first half maybe wasn't great, like, taking off, but the second half, very good. Like, both teams had their periods on top, like, and Kilkenny then got in for the goal in the second half to take the lead, Leon, but like, and then there were a couple of points up with like 4 minutes to go, like, but Tipperary came back strong, and I think the equaliser in the end was from, and then I think it was Lucy Purcell in the like 3rd minute of injury time, and then obviously went to extra time, and the first half of extra time was where like Tipperary kind of won the game. I think it was something like 4-1. They outscored Kilkenny, and they had the extra fitness level. They seemed to have, like, were just fitter, like, in extra time. Like, a few of the Kilkenny players were going down with cramp, like, while you didn't see that with Tipperary players. Like, if they were cramping up, they weren't showing it, like, they just had that little bit extra fitness, like. So I think that was the key in the end. Like, it was a game either team really could have won it. Like, Kilkenny themselves, they look back on the game, like, they missed a couple of, like, simple frees, like two. I think there was two really, in one in the first half, one in the second half. They were close in, like, and normally you'd expect them to put them over, like, and big things like that made the difference, like, but like Tipperary played really well, like, at times, like, and some of the key players, like, really stepped up, the likes, of Sarah Corcoran and Lucy Purcell, and obviously Caoimhe Stapleton, like, again, which had been all year, like, she was excellent again, like, top scorer again, like, and was excellent on the frees once again. Like, she missed, I think, her first free all right near the start again, but other than that, she was exemplary, like, so that was, and it was a great game, actually, Camogie. So both teams deserve immense credit, like, for the shot, especially in that heat, like,
Shane, like, it's a huge boost.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's as I said, when we were chatting to him, and like, just to have the juniors have kicked on this year, got to a league final, seniors in winning the league, and like, it's an interesting final now against Waterford. You think they're sort of, after last year at senior level, are sort of a nemesis that they sort of got ahead of us at that level, and like, this is their 3rd meeting in the championship already. Tip won the Munster final back in, I think it might have been in February. I think the teams met 2 weeks ago in the last round of the group stage, the All-Ireland, and Waterford won by 4 points. So I would think, I suppose, the recent memory probably of losing to Waterford will do Tip maybe no harm in terms of focusing the minds, Joe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like, as I said, I was from talking to John Ryan after the semi-final, like, he felt that they didn't maybe perform on the day, like, that day against Waterford, like, but yeah, I think they'll be there fresh in their minds, like, that game, and I think it will probably help them and spur them on a bit, like, yeah. But like, that another one, like, Waterford needed that game more, I think, Tipperary that day anyway, because Tipperary, like, were all of the chew and Waterford weren't, like, so I think that probably had a lot to play and came into effect as well, like.
Yeah, you see, like, it was a fair win for Waterford, like, that they were the 4th seed in that against Cork, who I think Cork won all their games in the round robin, like, and Waterford won by 5 points. So look, they're a strong team, but like, this tip team is strong too. They have a lot of girls that were on the Ursuline team in Thurles that got to the All-Ireland Schools final as well. So like, and there's a lot of who would be the key players on this minor team that will be key for Sunday or Saturday, Joe?
I suppose you have the likes of, you have Ava Dolan, like, Sarah Corcoran, the captain, she's been brilliant all year, like, from centre back. And you have Lucy Heffernan and like Lucy Purcell as well. Danielle Ryan, who's been playing centre forward. And look, as I mentioned, Caoimhe Stapleton will probably be the key player. Like, she's an unreal talent. Like, if we've been honest, like, she has the ability to go far now when she gets older. She excellent on frees, like, and not just frees, but from play as well, like, and her all-round play, like build-up play, you know, and setting up, and if she gets a chance to run out of defence, she's very hard to stop, like, you know. So I think, you know, if she can get going, like, I suppose Kilkenny kind of stopped her a little bit for some of the game, you know, and you could see that's when Tipperary struggled. But when any game when I've seen them, it's when she's on top, you know, Tipperary are on top, and she makes them tick, like, so she does. Yeah.
Yeah. So Joe, then, like, if Tip could add this minor title to, you know, the Senior League Camogie title recently, like, it really would, you know, speak to a county that's really kind of moving well with the Camogie.
Yeah, definitely. You know, they seem to be making great progress there the last year or two, and obviously if they can win it, you know, it really will set them up for going on to the future. Like, you know, as I said, they haven't been in the minor final since 2016, which the one was against Galway. But, like, you know, it'd be a massive boost for Camogie and Tipperary so well if they can get the victory now. Like, obviously it'd be a tough game, like, because, like, this Waterford team, they lost the final to Cork last year, and I think there was 6 of the current squad were played in that final. So, like, you know, so they've been there, and they've the hurt then as well of that, plus the experience. Like, so, like, it's going to be really tough. Like, so they'll have to be at their best, but, like, they're well capable of doing it anyway, because they definitely have the players to get the job done. Like, you know, definitely.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to the great credit of the I suppose the Tip Camogie committee. Like, you know, the last few years, I think that they've been very, very proactive under Dennis Lennon in terms of improving their structures. Like, they have had getting plenty of sponsorship in. I do think maybe and you're having the Centre of Excellence there in St. Joseph's of Borrisolee, and I do think the link up with Satanza College definitely over the last 2 years is starting to bear fruit. I suppose the one thing we saw at senior level maybe a couple of years ago is that we were behind the big three in terms of athleticism. I think we've definitely caught up there, and I definitely think we're seeing it at underage. And I think, Joe, you said it, that probably Tip's fitness levels were probably what got them through last weekend against Kilkenny.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. You could see it, like, they're in the extra time. Like, as I said, you could see there was 1 or 2 Kilkenny players were going down with cramp. Like, you could see it, and just the Tipperary players, they kind of found it extra gear in extra time, you know, because of that fitness level. So yeah, it's definitely something that's definitely bringing them on as well, like, and helping them. Yeah, it's a huge asset to have. Like,
yeah, Joe, just get your thoughts then on Tip against Limerick in the men's side this weekend. What are you thinking?
I suppose you watch, like, Limerick, obviously, for the large part of the Clare game, probably weren't at their best, like, but then the last 10-15 minutes, they were a different outfit, like, so, you know, and it's hard to know what to make of Tipperary, I suppose, at the moment, because they're kind of been up and down in the league, and going by their, I suppose, the Clare game, if they play like that, then they're going to be in serious trouble, like, obviously, especially if they start the way they did start that game. They could be beaten by half time, like in that one, but I suppose it's hard to know. But I suppose Limerick would probably be starters' favourites, but, you know, Tipperary, you just don't know, I suppose, what you're going to get with Tipperary, really. And I think it'll be an interesting game, all right. But look, hopefully Tipperary can get the job done, like. But it'll be tough, like, because, like, obviously we all know how good Limerick can be, like, you know. And if Limerick are on fire, like, you know, plus they have Peter Casey to come back, like, as well. So, you know, so it's going to be a tough one anyway, like, you know. I don't think if they lose anyway, I don't think it'll be the end of the year for them. Like, I still think they'll probably have a strong chance, like, but, you know, it'd be great, obviously, if they could get the win, like, you know, to start off the championship with that win, like, you know, and put them in a good position then.
Yeah, just before we go, we love our hurling in this show. You're a proud athlete, man, Joe. You narrowly beaten by Laois, and, like, no more than Clare and Cork. The Offaly Westmeath match next Saturday in Tullamore is massive now. Particularly, like, I thought the biggest upset in hurling last weekend for me was Kerry beating Westmeath. Just with Kerry had been struggling in the McDonough, and Shane Conway was missing. God, that was you'd think the one. I would have said probably Westmeath were favourites for the McDonough this year, but probably the loser of Offaly and Westmeath is probably out of the running this weekend.
Yeah, pretty much. I think, yeah, that'd be it for them for the year. Like, so the year would be over first quick. Like, and Offaly would have, I suppose, after the league they had, you know, where they done well in the league, like, you know, apart from maybe the Cork game, but the other games they definitely put in a good show, like, you know, so they would have fancied their chances, like, but now they're kind of, after that Laois game, I suppose, 2 late goals, I suppose, by Paddy Purcell, and, you know, it's put them in, I suppose, behind the 8 ball, I suppose, in a way, like, you know, so they they have to beat Westmeath now, you know, so if they lose that, then pretty much it's all over for them, but, like, you know, so hopefully now they can get the job done anyway and kick on then from there.
Okay, well, look, Joe, really appreciate you joining us, and I'm sure we'll have you on again soon.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, so Shane, the redraw in Tipperary. So, do you feel that any team kind of get done the second time around? Look, we all know there was an issue with the seeding thing, and this wasn't done on purpose. But, there's always going to be a little bit of collateral damage where a team got a somewhat favourable draw and then it was probably more difficult.
Yeah, that was kind of the disappointing thing about the redraw, was I thought the first draw was very, very even. Like, there was no group of death. They were all interesting. I would have said your own Borris-Lee probably got the rough end of the stick, like year in with Toom, Drum, and Killarowan, like so. Which was actually the group Laura were drawn in on Thursday, and I was saying, "Geez, we're going to get drawn together again in this redraw." Like, and but no, I would definitely.
I go through the groups there, so there's Group 1, 2,
definitely.
Drum,
That's probably the more eye-catching group. Yeah, like really have 4 big heavy hitters. You have Toom rising again, Borris-Lee recent county champions, Killarowan recent county champions, Drum and Inch. Really, but pulling out of football, it looks like they're going all in this year. Like, they probably feel that they've underperformed the last few years. So, like, that's massive.
Yeah, and then Thurles, Rossgrey, Mullinahone, Moycarkey, Burris. Group 3 sees Lockmore, Holy Cross, Loradura, your own, and Nina Airog. Nice handy group for you there, Shane. And I'll just read out the 4th one: Killadangan, Clonolty, Templederry, and JK Bracken. So I'm sure you're loving the handy competition you have there.
Look, it's tough. Like, I suppose I'd say we were pretty content with the draw we got on Thursday. Like, it's similarly with the redraw. I suppose we had traditional old Laura Killarowan, Laura Tumivara games to look forward to. We sort of have no real rivalry with any of the other 3 in the redraw. So look, it is what it is. I know we were I wouldn't say we're the cause, but we were our being drawn out incorrectly on Thursday was the reason that it was the redraw. Well, look, we had discussed it all right. But we had no plans to object to the draw. I think Ross Gray objected, and look, they were within their bounds to do it. Like, and probably was the right thing to do. And look, it was just unfortunate. I know there's been a lot of people using it as another stick to beat the county board with. And look, after the vice chairman's vote, it's not a good look. But look, it is what it is. There's good, genuine people down there, and I know they were embarrassed and by the hall, and they did that. It was human error. Look, nobody died. We'll just move on from here. And look, whenever I suppose the championship's due to start in late July, like, we have a lot of very, very juicy games. Like, you look at all those groups, you probably couldn't call 2 from 4. Like, there's some serious games to look forward to.
Yeah, it should be really, really good. And then finally, some football. So for the 3rd year in a row, the Tip Miners, they're going to appear in the Darrell Darcy Cup final against Clare. The Under-20s. Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, that's next Tuesday night in Rathkeil. So.
Yeah, and then the Under-20s getting ready for Kerry. And I suppose the Tip ladies footballers, geez, they had a tough day of it against Kerry at the weekend.
Yeah, only scoring 5 points. Like, I know Kerry are National League runners up, like, they're probably in the top 3 in the country, but like, that's the worry with Tipperary this year. Even the league, that they find it very, very hard to score. Like, even with Aisling Maloney, you think you should be probably finding the scores, getting scoring higher rates to that. Maybe she's double and triple marked, I don't know, but like, it does appear that they're not getting the best out of her at the moment. They play Waterford on Saturday at 2:00 in Bancha, so look, they'll be. Like, Waterford have had a very, very good league. So look, it's probably a game that Tip would have maybe targeting for a win, probably even Cork, Kerry and Waterford. They'd always fancy their chance against Waterford. Yeah, the Under-20s are out tonight down in Tralee against Kerry. Need to win. They're probably unlikely to qualify, because if Cork beat Clare, as we expect them to do in their game, and even if Tip were to beat Kerry, you go to score difference, and Tips is inferior to the other 2 at the moment. But look, I think it's been a very, very good campaign for Tip. Like, they beat Clare last week. They've had this their 6th game in the Munster Championship tonight. They've got brilliant development under Davey Fitzgerald, and they've come on a tons from their first game against Limerick. Like, and I suppose they have a puncher's chance tonight. Like, they should have. They created some serious scoring chances last week against Clare. I think 3 or 4 goal chances in the second half, and never took any of them. If they're going to cause an upset tonight, they have to be so ruthless in front of goal. And there's some lovely players like Oren Jones, Joseph Lawrence, Joe Higgins. So, like, there's some talent coming through. Charlie King at wing back. So look, they have nothing to lose tonight against Kerry. Or really, if this is to be their last game of the championship, I really hope they kind of go out on a high and have a go, really, like, and should put their best foot forward.
So I just circling back one final time to Limerick against Tipperary. We'll throw a couple of more punches, Shane.
Hey.
But like Cathal Barrett, I think the word like you'd mentioned the challenge match against Laois, not great there. I'm wondering Owen Connolly, who I thought had a very good league. I'd like to see him back. It wasn't as hyperextended his elbow.
Yeah, no, I think he was going to be out for a couple of weeks, so I would have thought he'd be back in full train. Like, look, we don't know any more about any other injuries. Like, I suppose it's the one lovely thing that Tip have in their favour. They're coming in, nobody's talking about them. I think my headline in my preview piece this week, that hurling's forgotten team, and I think they are. Like, nobody has been talking. Like, they're definitely probably in terms of the least talked about of the 5 Munster teams coming into the championship. Tip were it, like, and like in Galway and Kilkenny, we're probably getting little more chatter as well. So I think we'll put up a big performance. Like, whether we get a result, I don't know. We'll see on the day. I'm fascinated to see the team selection. I'm fascinated to see, are they going to throw? I wouldn't be. I hope they don't come up with anything gimmicky. I still think, go out with your best team, play Tipperary style of hurling, but play it smart. Like, play it with. I know around that 50-minute mark, surely you have to have some bit of a. If you know Limerick are going to retreat, that there's some kind of a signal goes in to make the players aware. Okay, this is happening. We've worked on what happens when Limerick if it's not going long with shooters, that Tipperary deviate and try something else, if you know what I mean. That's because if that's the one thing we know from Limerick, it's that they do retreat.
I'd be looking at that bench and say by 45 minutes, maybe even 40. Well, like, yeah, by the 45th minute that you've nearly used 4 subs, and of course you'd probably keep one just in case there's an injury. But I just think we've kind of found out in recent times that we tend to run out of juice a little bit earlier than they do. I mean, they seem to be, men for all seasons. But Tip might have to dig into the bench a little bit earlier and trust in the panel that, every manager always says it's so important, our panel. We're going to have to see it and hope that the panel holds up.
So look, in terms of predictions, I think heart and head rules is here for the two of us, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, if you were to put a gun to my head, I think Tipperary. I'd look at that Clare game and say that was an aberration, because Tip's free taking, and I hope I'm not jinxing anybody, will never be that bad again. Going 8 points to 0 down, that doesn't normally happen to anybody.
We looked leggy. We didn't have a spark that day. We didn't look fresh. Like, I'm not saying we threw the match, but it definitely looked like a team that, for that game, while important, it wasn't their be all and end all at that point of the season.
Yeah, and at the time I made the point that maybe Tip are coming in thinking, well, look, Clare, obviously they don't want a league final because they're close to championship, and maybe psychologically in our heads did we have the game won already, and that maybe that. And also I think the ref could have given us a couple of handy frees early in the game to settle us down, and instead gave Clare a couple of handy ones. But if Tip have sorted the puck outs at both ends of the field, I don't think there'll be too much in it. Yeah, I think Limerick will probably win by 4 points, something like that. But I wouldn't entirely rule out a shock, because Limerick for 53, 55 minutes were really, really bad. And all the concerns I had around them in terms of like the energy, the amount of game times, the amount of miles on the clock, they were there for 55 minutes.
That's the one thing, like, I think everybody, and including me, is assuming that Limerick will be stung by their poor performance and they're going to get better. But there's no guarantee.
It could be a warning of more to come.
Yeah, that's it. Like, we'll have a truer indication of Limerick on Sunday, I think, because you'll have 2 games. Just Cork and Clare. I know I've sort of hesitantly gone for Cork with absolutely no confidence. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I think Cork as well. And not because I've any massive faith in where Cork are going to go this year. Like I've said over the last number of years, I don't think they're that far away. But that's assuming they put out their best team. And even Tim O'Mahony didn't seem to get, why is he falling down so far down the pecking order? I think if Cork mix up their team and maybe only play one of those veteran players and use the other two in the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes off the bench, I think they can win this game, because that is going to rock Clare to their core. Remember, a couple of years ago, Waterford, they had their strongest team out. This is 2022. They were league champions. Limerick had injuries. Waterford gave it everything, and they fell away towards the end of the game. And that kind of done for them. And you could maybe only say that last Sunday was the first time that they recovered since then, maybe last year against Tip. So this could have a big impact on Clare, but I expect it to be a puck of a ball anyway. So, then in Leinster, Antrim Wexford,
it all depends on. I would assume Antrim were targeted in this game from a long way out, but it's the manner of how they got absolutely shellacked by Kilkenny. How does that hurt their mindset? If it doesn't, fine. But look, it's a banana skin, particularly after the way Wexford finished last weekend and maybe a few doubts in. I'd say I'd give Antrim a 25% chance to win, and I still think Wexford have too much. I wouldn't rule out Carlow. I thought Carlow actually performed pretty well against Galway. And look, Dublin have definitely improved. And we saw that preliminary quarter final last year. It was only in the last 10 minutes that Dublin pulled away. And you probably think Carlow are probably fitter this year. I think that could be tight. I think Dublin will win, but I don't think that'll be one-way traffic.
I think Dublin will win that by 7 or 8.
Probably. But I think it'll be competitive, maybe up to the last 10 again.
Yeah, and then with Wexford only beat Antrim by 4 points last year in the Leinster round robin. And Antrim, I wouldn't say would have any fear of Wexford. Remember those several years ago at under-21 level, the players who were going down eating bags of sweets and still managed to turn over Wexford. The last 2 years, Wexford have drawn and then lost to Westmeath. So the whole notion within the Antrim dressing room should be these lads won't like it up them and haven't been 17 points. Huh?
A good bet this weekend to be Wexford to draw the match, because they love a good draw, don't they?
And didn't they draw with Wexford
3 league matches
3 years ago?
Yeah.
Antrim drew with Wexford 3 years ago.
And you'd have to think Galway have to beat Kilkenny because of the injury problems Kilkenny have. Like, I know they're probably going to meet again in the Leinster final, but geez, you have to home advantage and everything. I think Galway nearly have to win it.
But this is why the two provinces are so imbalanced. I mean, Kilkenny can go out and not play any of those 3 players. If they were 90% fit and they were in Munster, they'd have to play because your season's on the line. Whereas in Leinster, it's not on the line at all. So, the Munster teams should come out more bruised because they constantly have to play everyone who's available. So, again, I find it hard to get that excited about Galway Kilkenny because there's very little jeopardy.
That's I suppose if maybe if RG had their choice all over again, they probably would show Cork and Clare maybe instead of, if they were showing one Munster game on Sunday, you'd probably show the other one because there's more on the line, particularly for Cork and Clare. If there's a loser, that's not to say that I think Cork are the only team in the round robin so far that have lost their first 2 games and won their last 2 and still got through. That was 2 years ago, but then that was helped by Tip being an absolute mess in their last game, and they were able to run up a score and they got through. It's well, look, I suppose it was a good that it's encouraging. We have 3 live games. I think Antrim and Wexford is on GAA on Saturday, and I think Clubber have got the right to show at the McDonagh Cup. There's no, which is great. I always think that there's some cracking hurling in that. It's very competitive. So, for all the criticism of streaming only for it, we wouldn't get to see half of what we're getting to see at the moment.
Not to mention all the under-20 and minor that we're seeing between TG Cahir and Clubber as well, which is
Jesus mentioned, Louth beating Dublin under-20 football last night. That's great. It just shows you that the Louth seniors are not a one-team wonder that Mickey Hart managed to pull up. There's talent coming in behind it now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it, folks. Keep an eye out for The Guardian, which is in local shops now. Otherwise, we'll see you again next week, and hopefully with a smile on our faces. Thanks, Shane.
Yep.